Hey, all of my Palooza party peeps. I'm so happy that you decided to join me today. We are going to make not one, but two adorable cards. Hopefully, we're going to learn something new together and we're going to get a little messy. So, if this is our first one, let me hold it up so you can see it. Super cute, right? The original design was from my friend Megan from Australia, and I just fell absolutely in love with it and knew that I needed to recreate it for you guys. Super cute, right? Okay, so if you want to play along, let me walk you through some of the supplies so you kind of have an idea of what I'm using. So it's just a toffee, right? Just made a card, toffee piece of paper, cardstock standard size, 4¼ by 5½. And then we've got, sorry, things are sticking, sapphire matte, 1/4 inch smaller. And then we've got a piece of the watercolor paper, and I use the watercolor paper because it's thicker, and we're gonna get it wet, and it just stays a little flatter for me. It's actually got a textured side and a smooth side, and you can choose to use whichever side you want. Now, if you don't have this, it's not a big deal. You can use the regular white cardstock, the White Daisy. White Daisy's a nice thickness as well, and I think you'll like it. You may just have to put a little more adhesive on the back so that it lays nice and flat for you when you stick it down. Now, so standard size, 1/4 inch smaller. The white is 1/8 inch smaller. Okay. Then we've got the inside piece, which I already took the liberty of stamping. Again, this is just 1/4, same size as the blue. It's going to go on the inside, right? The biggest part about what I wanted to show you was the stenciling. So we're going to do that. But hang on. The words, the little cute thanks so much is from the stamp of the month. Totally and utterly useful, right? I just see so many, especially after the holidays and all the people that you could send a cute little thank you card to. You'll use the heck out of it. Honestly, I know I will. I absolutely will. So we're going to use the thank you stamp of the month. And then we're going to use this 3D flower thin cuts, Z3691, because I know it makes it easier for you guys. And it makes these beautiful flowers. And it's got 3 giant size leaves, actually 4. Forgive me, I think of that one as the center. And then it's got this stamen that you can actually make for the center. But in truth, I only used, look at it, it's double-sided even on the magnetic sheets. But I used the 2 smallest ones today, just for size perspective on the card. Okay, I've got my little thanks loaded on the block. We're going to use the special brand new ink tool. You're going to love that because it's got a flat side. Let me think what else we're going to use. Gold shimmer trim. We're going to use gold thread. So these are the things you're going to want to assemble, right? I've already die cut. These are leftover cardstock from the Serenity paper that I had. You can use, honestly, you can use other colors. You do not have to use what I did, but this is what I did. So I did the big and the little from this Serenity leftover paper, and then I did a sapphire cardstock. Okay. I also did a couple of toffee leaves. Now this one is from an old die set that I had. Honestly, if you don't have these, you could hand cut a couple of leaves because as you can tell, you barely see them. It's not the focal point of the card. And I did one in glitter too. You could literally hand cut them if you wanted to. They're not essential to the card. So don't stress over it if you don't have those pieces. Now I think I did 2 of each so that I could choose. I don't even think I used the gold glitter on the leaf on this one. So we could actually use 2 toffee or we could use 2 gold, either one. I've got we're going to stencil first. So I've got my spatula handy. We're going to use the Stickles. Let me get the name in there. Oh, forgive me. I can't read through the camera. Solar Flare. There we go. It's the gold one. It's the bright gold one. We're going to use that one. And the stencil we're going to use, I think, is stencil pack 3, if I'm not mistaken. And as you can see, it's got tons and tons of different designs. It's got 9 squares. And what I did is I actually bought 2 packs. I left one whole, but on the second one, I cut it into card size pieces. Now you can use this for sure. You could use this as is and not have to do that. But I knew I was going to want to use these for cards. As soon as I saw it, I was like, oh, that's brilliant. I can cut those up and get 9 stencils, right? So that's what I did. So I just cut it with my paper trimmer and made 9 of these just because they're much handier and easier to use in a smaller piece. Okay, so that's what we're going to use. Pick any stencil you want, honestly. I'm just now looking going, oh wait, this one is actually the one we're going to use for this card, and we're going to use, the one I showed you. We're going to use the diamonds on this card, and we're going to use this. I don't know what shape that is, honestly, but we're going to use that on card number 2. And I'll show you that in just a second. I'm going to work on this one first, and then it's going to have to dry a little bit. So I'm going to work on it, then we're going to set it aside and pull the second card in because that one's got stenciling as well. So I'm going to kind of take my time, forgive me, because it needs to have a little bit of time to dry so that we can put it together. But you'll get the idea. What I mainly want to show you today is this stenciling because it's so much fun. Okay, couple more tools on hand. A wet chamois. Okay, you can use a paper towel, absolutely, positively, but it kind of shreds on the stencils, and because we're making 2 cards back to back, I knew I needed a surface that would take most of that off without it shredding and causing me any issue. We're using toffee ink to distress with. This is our dye-based ink. And then we're going to use the sapphire but pigment ink, okay? And a lot of you I know have questions about dye versus pigment. So dye on the left, pigment on the right. You can see that the labels are identical. And I'm a little sad about that because they used to make our pigment inks backwards. White on top, color on the bottom, like Bluebell is. Pigment. And I don't know if a batch went through and the labels were wrong. Does that make sense? Like, I don't know if they did it intentionally or mistakenly. But anyway, just pay attention to that they look the same now, and one is dye, that it actually says, forgive me, let me get it in camera, dye, and then this one is pigment. What's the difference? Everybody always asks that. What's the difference between the two? The difference is dye is just what it sounds like. It's like when you dye a fabric. The dye will immediately be absorbed by the paper, and you won't be able to spread it as well. Pigment, on the other hand, is just like paint. It sits more on top of the paper and it'll spread very creamy. It'll be beautiful. It'll blend beautifully. That's part of why our Distress Oxide inks are also a combination of pigment dye, and they blend so beautifully because of that. So I'm going to use actually our pigment to do the stenciling because I know it's going to blend really nicely. You're going to like that. But for my stamping, I actually use the dye, but you can use pigment. You can stamp with pigment as well. So in review, dye is going to soak in right away and it's going to dry very, very quickly. You're going to love that for 99% of everything you do. But when you want to stencil and blend, you're going to want, or maybe you want to emboss with it, you're going to want a pigment ink because it sits on top of the paper and it blends better. Okay, so quick introduction of dye versus pigment. Today, we're actually going to use the pigment. Close to My Heart does not make pigment inks in all of our colors. We only have a small handful of them, plus our new Distress Oxides. Okay, just FYI. So let's get started so that this has a chance to dry for us. Now, I think I gave you all the pieces of the puzzle. We're going to use some gold pearls at the end, right? We've got these. You're going to need some glue dots. You're going to need some foam tape. I've kind of got those sitting off camera here. And I think I'm going to take my stencil, and I've got my paper. I'm going to choose to use the smooth side. And I'm going to put it in the middle, right? Somewhat in the middle here. And I'm going to take some old washi tape, and I'm just going to tape it down. Just because it will come off your stencil. You don't have to worry about that. And the washi tape won't stick to your paper. Now, I'm not too worried about it being perfectly perfect, if that makes sense. I kind of just want it centered left to right. Here, I do want to not, I don't want to cover the design though. So let me see if I can get this. Probably should have done this before I got on camera. Okay. The washi tape, actually, I'm kind of thankful I have it because it works really nicely. Okay, that is not centered. I can see it from here. Let me peel that up and move it just a little. Okay, let's get it centered left to right and in the middle. go. You can do it without, honestly. I think I did my first version without taping it. So we'll see. But when you're doing this, it moves the stencil. So you can kind of hold it with your hand, and I still will do that. But it does help a little bit to have a little bit of tape on it so that it just holds it down. So it just depends on you, honestly, you know, what you want, how you stencil. If you want to be super precise or you don't, it really is up to you on this one. So we're going to take our Sapphire Pigment ink. I'm going to move, hang on, I'm going to move some of these things out of the way for a few minutes because I know this is going to have to dry. Okay, so I'm going to move this with my card pieces and set those aside. And then I've got our one that I think you can still see that a little bit up there. Our toffee we're just going to use for distressing, so I'm going to set that aside as well. Let me just get the pieces that we need here. Okay, so now we've got our blending tool. Forgive me for shaking the camera. I know it does that. I'm just going to tap it on there. We're going to start smack in the middle of this card. Okay, and I know that's counterintuitive, but we're just going to go in a circle and we're going to kind of blend out. And don't be too concerned about the marks it makes. And then we're going to go back and we're going to do it again. Right? Because once you pick it up, and then I just want a little tiny bit of ink and soften those edges. So I'm just taking my tool and kind of going on the edge. I just want a tiny bit of color. Okay, seriously, I know you think that's not done, but it's done. We're gonna set our pigment aside. And then what I wanna do is get a paper towel. Get a paper towel that's dry. We're not gonna wet it. And all I'm gonna try and do is pick up some of that ink off the stencil. Just because we're gonna put gold on it. And I just thought, I don't want the glitter gel to pick up all that blue. So if we don't get it all off, that's fine. But I just didn't want it to be crazy blue, if that makes sense. So I'm just gonna take my dry paper towel, we're not gonna wet it, okay, and pick up some of that ink. Now, here comes the fun part. We're gonna gold, open up our jelly jar as it is, and our spatula, and we're gonna stir it up. And then you know, it's messy for me. It's always a textural thing. This stuff is like the gooeyest shnikes. Okay, we've got some. It's always a little bit less than what you think, but truly it's just like cooking. It's to taste. You decide how much is there. You decide where it's thick and where it's not. But as you can see on this card, it's not thick. I didn't do it thick, but I wanted a little bit all over. So start in the middle again and work your way out. Don't be afraid to scrape it up and put it back on. Okay, spread it down. We're not going to go all the way to the edges, but we're going to kind of do the part that's, you can go a little bit past, in my mind, this is what I tell myself, you can go a little bit past where the blue is, because that gold is pretty around the edges. But I don't want so much on this that it takes an hour to dry either. So scrape it back up a little bit. I hope that's making sense. You just want the tiniest, right? We just want the sparkle of it. But we don't need it heavy because we're going to cover this center area anyway. Okay. Okay, I think I've got it pretty. You can hear it scraping. It's just like frosting. We're spreading the gold frosting. Okay, so now I'm going to take my paper towel again and just get it off my spatula, right? Okay, close our gold up because we're good. Make sure this is tight. That jelly, I would imagine, would dry out very easily if you don't tighten the jar. And then we're going to pull this off and let it dry. See, washi tape is the bomb. It really does come off really nicely, kind of like, I think it's less tacky than painter's tape. And that's awesome because I know y'all have a stash of washi. Now this is ours, our old washi. I don't know what other companies are like. I really only know ours. But it's kind of just like a masking tape, really. Okay, ready? Dun, da, da, da. And here's our card. Isn't that just gorgeous? Like, no, I love it. Love it, love it, love it. Okay, we need to let this dry. So I'm just going to set it aside for now, and we're going to go to our other card while we're waiting. And I'm going to clean this off because we're going to use it again. So I'm just going to set it down so I can maybe not get underneath it as much. And take that, make sure that the blue is really what I want off. Right? And then we're going to wipe our surface, maybe flip it over even a little, and kind of keep flipping my chamois. If I wasn't doing 2 cards on camera, I would just take it up to the sink and wipe it off in between. But because I'm on camera, I don't want to, right? Make you guys wait. Okay. So I think we're pretty good. I don't see any more blue coming off. I think we're all right. Shake my chamois out. All right. Now, I'm going to set this aside just for 1 second. And so I want to make sure my spatula's not got blue on it too. Move our blue out of the way. Before I bring the other card on camera, I want to, just in case you have not seen this yet, I want you to see the wood grain paper. I kind of fanned it out so you could see all the patterns, but I want you to see how beautiful it is because it is absolutely spectacular. I am currently hoarding it, just in case you wanted to know how beautiful I think it is. Like, I seriously have 2 or 3 packs because I just know when it's gone, I'm going to be sad that it's gone. And they have a wonderful array of shades, all kinds of different grains. And truly, look at this on the back. Is that not spectacular? But this is one of my favorite ones, and that's the one we're going to use today. But I mean, dark browns and warm browns, and then you kind of have a tan, and then they kind of go into grays and whites. They're just absolutely gorgeous. So if you haven't gotten yourself one of these packs yet, I'm telling you, go grab like 5 because it's totally worth it. You'll use it on everything, and they're just great neutrals, right? You could stick this instead of cardstock easily, and it wouldn't change your design, right? It wouldn't change your design, and I love that, right? I like things like that. So, okay, introducing wood grain, and that's the paper we're going to use on our card. And here is, we're going to use, for this one, we're going to use the silver, we're going to use mink, we're going to use the silver stickles. This one's called Asteroid. We're going to use Distress Pumice Stone Distress Oxide ink. Here's our wood grain paper. We're going to use a different one of those cut little stencils. And then this is not glued down, but this is going to be our finished card. Isn't that fun? So what I wanted to show you was the difference a little stenciled glitter can add. So for this one, we used the ink and then we glittered over it, the glitter gel over it, right? Which really gives a lot of color and a lot of depth. That glitter adds depth because it doesn't fill in completely, right? You kind of just get some edges. That's why I encourage you guys to scrape some of that out because it really is it's a pretty, pretty look. And it's pretty when you get it around the edges too, where there isn't a lot of color. I absolutely love this, but I want to show you how quickly, here we've got our plain, right? Our plain wood grain paper. How quickly we can add color and shine to this paper without really a huge design, right? Not a lot of huge design. So I'm going to do the glitter part first again, because I know it has to dry. So the other pieces I'm going to set aside. So this is a slimline card. It's 3.5. Here, let me bring it back so you can see it. 3.5 by 8.5. Okay, so it's 8.5 piece of paper cut by 7, scored in the middle. Okay, so we've got our 1/4 inch smaller. So this is, let me think, 3.25 by 8.25 piece of the wood grain paper. You could use any of them. Honestly, it'd be pretty on any of them, truly. And then we've got our little stencil here. And this time I'm not going to glue it down because I need to move it. I'm going to do some above and I'm going to do some below. So we're actually going to move it. So I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to kind of guess, honestly. We're going to kind of guess. Okay. So let me set these over here. and get our gel, our silver, because again, look at the texture on these. It just cracks me up because I'm not in my mind. I think it's going to be liquidy, and it isn't ever. It's kind of like this goopy. If you have it, you know what I mean, because see how it bounces back? It's like the weirdest stuff, but it's fun. I mean, it dries fairly quickly, which I like. It's not instantaneous, but it's not hours either. Okay. So we're going to have, like, seriously, we're going to start with that much because I want it to be thin. All I'm looking to do is really add some shine. Now I'm going to hold my stencil down with my bottom fingers, and I'm going to spread the silver frosting right up from the center. So all I'm going to do, again, is kind of spread the frosting. I'm going to move myself around a little bit so that I don't have to pick my left hand up. Okay. And I just want to hit all the little spaces that I can, and still, again, scrape it up and respread it because you don't need that much. And we don't want them completely filled in. We just want to hit them a little bit. Okay, ready? We're gonna pick this up. Now, pick it up. Look at that. Oh, okay, now we're gonna set it back down here on the bottom. Okay, we're gonna get a little more. Again, not too much because it's just gonna take a long time to dry, right? It's literally just gonna take a long time to dry. You're gonna be set. So start in the middle and spread your frosting out. Okay. And look at that. It's just spectacular. These are so much fun to work with, you guys. Seriously. I would, if I were you, they sell out so often. I can't even tell you if they're in stock right now because we have gotten them and then they're gone, and we gotten them and they're gone, and it's kind of been a thing. And it's not been close to my heart. It's actually Ranger ink that is having some supply issues, and they have sold out of them, so bless them. Right? Okay, look at how little that is. And again, I'm going to take this and wipe it off real quick because I don't want it sticking to my knife. Okay. And we're going to do this again. Just put it on tight and then we're going to pick this up. Oh, okay, I'm going to stick this on my chamois so that it can stay wet until I get it to the sink. Actually, hang on, I gotta wipe looks like I got a little bit here. I always end up with glitter everywhere. Okay, look at how beautiful that is, you guys. No joke. Is that just not pretty? And it doesn't, again, I don't know how to explain it. It doesn't add a whole lot to the design, and yet it does, right? It doesn't take away from the stamped image. It doesn't take away from words you add. It's in the background. It's a layer of texture, right? That color and that shine is just a layer of texture. I absolutely love it. It makes me want to use all the stencils in all the colors because I'm excited. And I wanted to show you purposefully again that this is the look with color and the glitter on white. And then look at this. This is just the shine on a pattern paper. How many pattern papers do you have that you could experiment with and just add this layer of shine and texture? Like, isn't that the coolest idea? I love it. Okay, so this one obviously is wet. So we're gonna set this aside. I didn't glue this all down on purpose so that I could show you the rest because I knew that was gonna take time. So these are our snowflakes. Here, our snowflakes. And let me find the set so I can show you. This is our brand new set. It is, you're gonna ask me, D1981 Stampin' Thin Cuts, Elegant Snowflakes. And it's a really cute set. It's got some really cute sentiments on it. Cuddle Weather, Warm Winter Wishes, which is what we used. You Melt My Heart, like super sweet. I've seen these. Holly is going to show you in the Palooza. She's doing embossing on vellum with these again, which is spectacular. So even if you didn't do the cards, go watch her because it's just absolutely beautiful. What I'm going to do with them is I just cut out two. I actually used the Pumice Stone ink, the Distress Oxide, which is a pigment / dye based. It's a combo, but it dries slower. So I added clear embossing to it. and emboss them. Right? Super easy. It didn't take long. And then I just blinged them up with gel because I wanted them, I knew they had to compete with the sparkle, with the glitter. So I knew I needed to take them up a notch just so they didn't fall into the background. So here's our warm winter wishes. Okay. You can use the Distress for this, or you can use the Mink. They're very, very close in color. Obviously, but this is a dye and this is a dye / pigment. So I've got a piece of glitter, silver glitter paper. And then again, this is our slimline card. So I'm going to go ahead and glue our glitter paper down. Now you can see I've got a hole here. So I'm just going to I'm going to go way up to the top, and I'm going to make this higher than you think it should be. But it's really going to be okay because this snowflake is going to cover down here. Okay, so then we're going to do now glitter paper needs a stronger adhesive. You can either use glue dots or you can use foam tape. I'm going to use foam tape because it's just easier. I've just got it in my hand and try to keep this on camera. And I can tear it. The thin foam tape you can tear if you don't know that. Right? Super fast. You know me, I don't have a long attention span. And then I did the warm winter wishes all the way to the right. Okay? All the way to the right. There we go. Okay. Super cute. Okay, now I did foam tape these already. Regular foam tape, thin foam tape, because I know I want this one to be in the background and this one to be in the foreground. Okay? Now we're going to take some. I did one and I didn't do the other, so I can show you on one of them. This one I already kind of circled up, if you will. And I'm going to cut that long string off. I think he's too long for me. Oh, here's another one. Some hangers on. Now, I'm going to put this one on and then I'll show you how I did it. It kind of has a triangle look. Maybe I have to roll that a little bit more. Okay, so this one, I'm going to stick this. I put a glue dot on the end and I'm going to show you in 2 seconds. I'm going to stick this to that bottom of this. Okay. Now, for this one, it's going to go like this. Here's my thread, and the thread just comes on the spool, right? And I'm going to take it and I'm going to wind it around a couple of my fingers, right? I don't know, a bunch of times, if you will. And then I'm going to grab it. Okay, so I have a circle, somewhat circle. And then I'm going to take my glue dot roll and I'm going to find a glue dot and I'm going to stick it on there. Okay. Now I'm going to pick that glue dot and roll it right around that circle of thread. I love using the thread this way. I've learned from other consultants that it's a wonderful embellishment. When we first got it, I was like, what the heck am I going to do with that? I don't know how to use it. But in truth, it's taken me a while, but I've learned. Okay, so we're gonna kind of put that up a little closer. Now, once you got that, have that glue dot on there, you can manipulate it a little more. Kind of get it where you want it, right? Maybe not so jumbled up. Forgive me. And then I can take my foam tape off. And look at that. Isn't that so much fun, you guys? I absolutely am in love with this idea of using the stencils to add some shine on a patterned paper. Okay, then you can use whatever the stamp set is to use as write your little focal point and then match it with a little more bling, whether it's glitter paper or bling or what have you, but bring that level up a notch. So yay, we have one done. Okay, let me get rid of my pieces and we'll come back to our other one. Now we've got our, let me see if it's, look, oh, we're not bad. Okay, here's our gold, and I've got our bling. So here we go. We're going to use our toffee to distress with. I always distress the edges of the paper, okay? If you keep it closer to 90 degrees, you'll get very little ink, but you'll just do the edge. If you put it more at 45, you'll get more ink on the paper. So it really is, again, just to taste. It's how you like it. If you want a more ink, 45, less ink, 90. So we're going to use that to distress the edges. And what it does, again, is it just adds texture. It adds a layer and kind of finishes that card. So we're going to put our insides on because we can. I love this idea. I love having the inside finished. So cute. And then we're going to do our sapphire. Okay, now we've got our glitter piece, our stencil piece. Add more adhesive than you think you should because we want it to lay flat. Okay. Okay, now I don't want to rub on that, so I'm going to flip it over and rub really hard on the back so that I can make sure that that's glued down. Okay, now we've got our thanks. Let me find my stamp and I think I'm going to use actually the dye ink because what are dye inks? They dry really fast. So here's our thanks. Ta-da! I'll throw that on my chamois. Okay, now we have our gold shimmer trim. And we are going to put that kind of above our thanks. Sorry, I keep trying to remember to keep it on camera. Then we've got, this is just a leftover zip strip from the Serenity group. You could use whatever you have, honestly. And I did put thin foam tape on it because I do want that dimension. I want a little bit higher, just a little bit. Do you not love the gold with the toffee? I love that look. Okay, now we're going to do the same thing with our thread. We're going to use the gold thread that we did with our silver. Here's our flowers. And one more thing I want to show you. This, you could do just like this, but if you notice, this flower is a little bit deeper in color than this one. What I'm going to do then is take my, here it is, my ink tool and my pigment ink. We're going to go back to our pigment and I'm going to ink it up just a little bit. And then I'm going to go right in the center of this. And it's just going to, right? All-purpose mat. Love our all-purpose mat. Don't worry about bending the edges. It's going to be just fine. Promise. Okay. Now, I need to get our... just so I can wipe this a little bit so I don't make a mess. Can you see how the center is darker? Isn't that so much fun? Add as much or as little as you want to get it where you want it to be, right? Like if you want a little bit more subtle look, you can do that. You can just kind of wipe it on and get it where you want it. And then set it just for a second so it dries. Oh, I'm dropping things everywhere. Okay, so now we've got our little flowers. Now, we want to give these flowers some dimension. So we're going to take the edges and we're going to put my thumb underneath and I'm going to roll it on my thumb. Can you see how easy that is? Roll it on my thumb. Turn it around to each one. Roll it on my thumb. You can use a tool or something. You literally could use the pokey tool and you could roll it that way too. It doesn't matter. Okay, then I'm going to put it in my hand. I'm going to take the ball end of my pokey tool and I'm just going to circle it around like that. You can use your ball tool, you can use your finger, it doesn't matter. You're just literally giving it some shape. Now we're going to do the same thing with the smaller. We're going to roll it under. We're just giving it a little bit of oomph, right? A little bit of shape. And then I'm going to pull it in and I'm just going to make little circles and that will just look at how it just curls up. Okay, now this is the only one that's going to be messy because we just inked it. I'm probably going to have blue all over myself. But see how nicely they shape? And all I'm doing is kind of almost, look at, I knew I was going to do that. And then circle and look at how easily it pops up. Isn't that fun? Such a fun little technique. And I watched that once on a YouTube video somewhere and I was like, that's brilliant. How did they figure that out? I suspect they figured it out just by trial and error. But I'm going to go ahead and put my foam tape on, right? So I'm going to flip it over and put it on all my layers, right? Just so that I don't forget. And foam tape is so much easier, you guys, to use on flowers and your embellishments, honestly. Okay, let's build our flower. I'm going to take the pattern to pattern and I'm just going to offset it. I don't want it completely offset. I just want it offset a little bit. I just want some depth. Okay. Then I'm going to take our blue one, our plain, and that's the one that I'm going to offset. That's the one that's going to cover the space. Good. Again, you could take the whole thing and put it in your palm and just do those circles and it will literally come to life in your hand. Look at how fun that is. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and do our center, which is, and if you use your pokey tool, it's so much easier to place it exactly where you want. Now, the other thing you can do on these leaves, if you want to, is add some clear shimmer brush. Or the sapphire, either one, but it's already sapphire, so you don't really have to. Okay, we've got our card, we've got our gems. Okay, so let's do our loopity loops because we can. Let me get this off of here. Okay, so this one, I'm gonna make a big one. I'm gonna do 4. Well, yeah, I'm gonna make a big one if I can get it untangled. Hang on, it's getting... You're going to be seasick if you watch this too long. Okay, ready? Let's go back. 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, back to center. I'm so glad these rolls have so much on them. Let me get my other hand out. And then where's my glue dots? I love this technique. Love it because it makes it so much easier to work with this. Then now I picked it off, roll it, right? And then look at how fun that is. Stick it down. Okay. And then I've got the foam tape. Oh my gosh, she's so cute. Now, where are my leaves? So we could do 2 gold. I have them left. Gold or 2 tan. I think I did one with the tan, so let's do the gold. I don't know, it's kind of fun. Let's get his foam tape is easier. Foam tape. Now, I want to show you this leaf is flat, right? We just die cut it. Same technique. Hold it in one hand, pull it around with the other, pull it. And look at the curve that it puts in it so easily, okay? Then you've got your foam tape. It just gives it a little bit of height, just a little bit of dimension, and that's all we want. We don't need it to be, right? This one I already did. You can see it's got a little curve in it. Is that not cute? Oh, I might want my string above it. Oh, la, 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 la. Now you can pull them up a little bit. You can arrange them how you want. You can put shimmer brush, but oh, I am so in love with this. Look at how fun. Yay! Texture is everything, and shine and bling. I hope you had fun. I will see you again soon. Bye.